Hey everyone, it's Mr. Skin. How are you? I'm in my basement at the Mr. Skin house. We're gonna do another Skinsta Live today, and last week I gave you what we're calling our Mr. Skin Quarantine, which is our way of kind of giving you what we think are not only great TV shows that are critically acclaimed or well reviewed, or Rotten Tomatoes reviewed well, but that also feature great nudity. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this Quarantine TV is recommend shows, like I said, that are not only great shows that also feature great nudity. And last week we did shows that are active, so you could jump in and they'd still be going. But this week I'm going to give you 5 television shows which I consider classics, both that they're great shows, but most importantly featured great female celebrity nudity especially. So let me start this week. And I should say that the reason we did this is we've had so many people, both for me personally and to our website, that are asking us to review shows. And like everything else, my team goes above and beyond the call of nudity. And what we did is also give you not only the ratings and how many episodes there are and what the critics said about these shows, but also how many nude scenes there are. And we even added up all the breasts, butts, and bushes for these shows. So it's very thorough. But like I said, last week I did, for Quarantine TV, I did shows that were active. We had like Altered Carbon, Easy, Shameless, what was another one? Sex Education. This week I'm going to talk to you about 5 of my favorites that also feature great nudity. And while I'm doing it, if anyone has any questions about actresses or some questions for me, I'll try to catch them here on the screen and answer it for you guys. But we also had some people during the week after last week hit up our Instagram with some questions, so I'll try to get to that towards the end. But anyway, let me start with a show that if you're looking for something to binge watch during this quarantine, that I think you'd really enjoy and also has fantastic nudity, is a show called Banshee. Some of you have probably heard of it. If not, it's a Cinemax show. It aired for 4 seasons starting in 2013. And it's about this criminal, basically, Anthony Starr, who assumes the identity of a murdered small-town sheriff in Banshee, Pennsylvania. And it's one of those shows that I get asked about all the time, and so many people dug it. And if you want to watch it, there were 4 seasons. I think we said our guys added up, there were 38 total episodes, but 52 total nude scenes and some great scenes. I remember the pilot episode, Ivana Milicevic was in bed with her husband, and the scene was so graphic. I was thinking to myself, if this is going to air on Cinemax and this is just the first episode, what more are we going to see? And it was really a spectacular scene. But the girl I get asked about the most from Banshee is the Amish girl, because this is in Amish country, and it's that girl who plays Rebecca on the show. Her name is Lily Simmons. And fans of True Detective, you might remember her from season 1. She also showed up on Ray Donovan in the 5th season. But Lily Simmons, the hot Amish girl from Banshee, I get asked, ever since this show started, I've been getting asked about her. And guaranteed you'll be churning your own butter when you see the nude scenes. If you download this or stream this show, you're going to be so happy. So Banshee is my first selection in my Quarantine to make sure you download. Someone just asked, I just caught, someone just asked about Thomasin McKenzie as I go down my list here. Now, if you don't know who Thomasin McKenzie is, She was the girl, if you saw the movie Jojo Rabbit, she was the girl that hid in the wall. And that was such a cool movie. I really love that. And though it wasn't a movie for nudity, I've started to get a lot of people ask me about her. And coincidentally, thank you whoever asked that question, I missed it, but there's a movie that came out on VOD last week called The True History of the Kelly Gang. And at the 58-minute mark, Thomasin McKenzie makes her nude debut. She's changing, and it's a really great nude debut, one of my favorites so far in 2020, and I know she's starting to have a big following. And so whoever asked that, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but I saw someone asked. Thanks. Thomasin McKenzie, great question. So getting back on my Quarantine, another classic television show from our archives that we highly recommend here at MrSkin.com if you want to stream during this quarantine is True Blood from HBO. It aired for 7 seasons on HBO, and of all the shows in the history of television, True Blood had the third most nude scenes, 73 nude scenes, which is pretty incredible. And Anna Paquin, who played Suki Stackhouse on the show, did a bunch of those nude scenes, and we're big fans of hers at MrSkin.com. And actually, for the women or gay men out there, True Blood also featured incredible amount of male nudity, which I know we have a lot at MrMan.com, our other website. A lot of those actors and actors are very popular there. But True Blood is definitely something that considered a binge watch that got really good reviews and definitely had an incredible amount of nudity. Lizzie Kaplan also was nude in the first season. You might know her from the television Showtime show Masters of Sex. Alexandra Breckenridge with Vampire Bill is one of the hottest sex scenes of the 2000s we've ever seen. But definitely check out True Blood if you're looking for something to binge watch during this quarantine while we're all stuck at home. Another show on my list for Quarantine is someone's asking about Shameless on Showtime. Great question. That is yes, Shameless is the #1 show in the history of television. No television show has ever had more nude scenes than Shameless. 138 nude scenes in their 10 seasons. And we're supposed to get an 11th and final season from Shameless, but it's due in November, and I really don't know with everything going on how they're going to film that. But regardless, Shameless is one of the best shows, one of my favorite shows on television, and without question, the #1 television show with the most nude scenes in the history of TV. So great question. Ralph Hartman's asking that right now, so I wanted to get that. Anyway, back to the Insta Live Quarantine. Another show we highly recommend here at MrSkin.com is Californication. Number of reasons I love this show. It aired from about 2007 to 2014 on Showtime. And David Duchovny's like a self-loathing, drunk, but really funny guy. And even if you just watched like the first 4 or 5 seasons, if you don't want to make it all the way to the end, you'll still be very happy, because I love that, especially the first 5 seasons of Californication on Showtime. That was must-see TV for me. And what I loved about it too is not only what do we have for Shameless had Californication is another one of those shows, all-time shows. For the amount of nudity, I think they had 60 nude scenes in their run. But what made the Californication nudity so good is all the actresses that made their nude debuts on Californication. Like, for instance, Eva Amore, who is Susan Sarandon's daughter, had a great story arc where she was a student of David Duchovny and then a stripper by night, and he went to the strip club, and there she was. One of my favorite nude scenes of ever is Eva Amore in Californication. Addison Timlin, new debut, Californication. Even Madeline Zima, who was Fran Drescher's daughter on The Nanny, grew up. The first episode of Californication during sex with David Duchovny is one of the funniest and hotter sex scenes you're going to see. So she made her new debut. Maggie Grace, if you're a fan of the TV show Lost, you remember her, the blonde. She made her new debut on Californication. And Grey's Anatomy Dr. Camilla Luddington also made her new debut on Californication. So I can't recommend it enough. And as a side note to all of that, on Californication, in the fifth season, the 9th episode, they even had a little storyline where this Sarah Power was in like a trailer on the set of a movie with David Duchovny, and she took her top off, and she had amazing breasts. And David Duchovny looked at her and said, "Those are stupendous. You're probably going to win a Mr. Skin Award for that." So much love to Californication, and it's another movie if you're considering something to binge during this quarantine. Highly recommend Californication. Just a couple of more for you guys out there. You have to, if you're going to do this, and it would blow my mind if you haven't seen this show, but if you haven't, now's the time, because we all have a lot of time, is Game of Thrones, which started in 2011, ran for 8 seasons, and it's one of the greatest shows of all time. I always felt like with Californication, if you every time you watched an episode, you felt like you just watched a movie. It was that good. And I still say that Californication is a big reason that there's so much great nudity on television, because that first season in 2011, when Emilia Clarke, the stunning, in perfect lighting nudity from Emilia Clarke in the very first episode of Game of Thrones was just mind-blowing, and everyone, that was the big talk of the show, and I think that stuff got people really interested in the show. Obviously, it was a great show, even if it didn't have nudity, but then you pepper in scenes like that, and I think we added up 63 nude scenes in the history of that show, and a lot of full frontal stuff from Game of Thrones. So if you haven't watched it, for the small minority of people who haven't, please check out Game of Thrones, and you'll be very happy on the nudity front. I should mention, in the 5th season, the 10th episode, probably the most famous nude scene, right up there with the Emilia Clarke stuff in the first season, was that walk of shame from Lena Headey. And Lena Headey, Cersei, the queen, had to walk completely naked through all of her, the whole, whoever it was, hundreds of thousands of people that she ruled over. And it was a very incredible graphic scene. Unfortunately, it wasn't Lena Headey that did the scene. Rebecca Van Cleve, who was a 24-year-old model, actually did the nudity, and they CGI'd Lena Headey's head onto Rebecca Van Cleve's body. So as great as that scene was, one of my favorite of all time, it really wasn't Lena Headey, but it was still a really, really cool nude scene. So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, please check it out. It's something that it would be so great. I mean, I always get jealous of people that haven't seen great shows like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, to know that they have all those episodes to get through. So Game of Thrones and their 63 nude scenes, definitely check it out. Fantastic stuff. And last on my list of Quarantine TV, that is a kind of a sleeper show. I know people probably heard of it, but you might not remember. It is a show called Weeds that aired on Showtime from 2005 to 2012. And Weeds starred Mary Louise Parker. Her husband died, and she was her husband died, and she has to figure out how to make money, so she decides to be a weed dealer. And that's another show we're big fans of at Mr. Skin. Maybe didn't have quite as many nude scenes as some of these other shows I mentioned, but there was there was a ton of great nude scenes, but not like incredible quantity. But in the sixth season, there was a scene where Mary Louise Parker was having sex with a guy up against a bar. That was, I couldn't believe Mary Louise Parker did this scene. It was so hot, and it was just so out of character, I felt, and especially for the star of a show, and it was well into the show. I was surprised she did it, but even if you can't watch the full Weeds, please check out season 6, episode 8. And you'll be very happy with the Mary Louise Parker nudity in that. So I hope this was a good. This helped people that are looking for television shows and looking for television shows that are good but also have great nudity. So to recap, I go Banshee, True Blood, Californication, Game of Thrones, and Weeds. Great shows, and you won't be disappointed either in the show or the amount of nudity. So, someone mentioned Alanis Morissette showed up on Weeds. Very good. She did. That's from the Sultan of Sex. I know that guy. And anyway, it's highly recommend Weeds from Showtime and all these other shows. So definitely check that out. Quarantine TV. From MrSkin.com, and I promised you we had a bunch of people that asked me some questions during the week on Instagram, and I chose some that I thought were pretty good and would help that people might want to know the answer to. The first was someone asked me about Blake Lively. Has she ever been naked? We all know her as the Gossip Girl Serena. That show aired from like 07 to maybe 012, 013, somewhere in there. But she became super popular, and I get asked a lot about her. She actually did do a movie. It's called All I See Is You from 2016. It's right at the beginning of the movie. She's in the shower. You get a butt and some breasts. So I would recommend that as the best place to see her nude. She also did a movie, we're talking Blake Lively here, called A Simple Favor from 2018, and at the hour and 30-minute mark, it's weird because she's at a graveyard, but she's wearing I don't know why, I saw the nude scene, but I haven't seen the movie. I don't know why she's at a graveyard wearing a sport coat with no bra, but she is, and you can see right breasts during it. We had the Skin Vision, the clip, go slow-mo to make sure you could enjoy it even more, but the movie's called A Simple Favor from 2018 at the hour and 30-minute mark. But those are the two Blake Lively movies you want to check out if you're a fan to see her nude. And the other question we got was a funny one during the week was, had Marcia from the Brady Bunch ever done a nude scene? And they might have been saying it as a joke, but she actually did do a nude scene in her career. She did a movie called Texas Lightning in 1980. So this was like 6 or 7 years after the Brady Bunch ended. And the actress name is Maureen McCormick. And she did this horrible drive-in movie that I don't even think was ever, I'm pretty sure was never released on DVD. But we actually have it at Mr. Skin. And an hour and 4 minutes in, Marcia from the Brady Bunch in a motel room actually shows breasts. And I remember it was one of the first nude scenes I ever saw when I first got cable TV and a VHS player. And I remember thinking, if Marcia from the Brady Bunch has been nude, who else has done nudity? And I'll always remember that nude scene. So that was a great question we got during the week. So before I wrap this up, I did want to mention, we're running this, I got the notes on this. We're running this Mr. Skin challenge. If you haven't seen it, where you can draw a famous nude scene or a sexy celeb moment, and we are offering to 3 winners $1,200 each. And unfortunately, you got to get it in by midnight tonight. We've been running it for a couple weeks, but what we're going to do is we're going to pick the 10 best that we thought that we got submitted to us. And you don't have to be Picasso to send this in. You don't have to be a professional artist or anything. We're looking for creativity too. But we've been getting some awesome submissions. And then what we're going to do, I think tomorrow, is post this in social media and at Mr. Skin. Correct me if I'm wrong, team, if anyone's listening. And then we're going to let people vote on this for a while. And the top 3 vote getters are going to win $1,200 each. It's our way of giving a little a stimulus package during this quarantine. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, I get asked so much to recommend television shows. And all these shows I recommended are really good shows. You'll enjoy them. And as a special bonus, you'll get some great nudity too. So anyway, until next week, I think next week I might pick a television show that everyone knows, and we'll go over the stars of that show and where to see them naked. And of course, I'll always be here to answer questions. And if you want to hit us up this week on Instagram and ask if you have any questions about nudity or actresses, please let me know, and I will answer that during the week. So that's it. Until next week, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk next week. Bye.